Hari Om. Hari Om. Hari Om. Hello, my friends. There are some teachings that on the spiritual path you should completely ignore your body. But then there is also the possibility to include the body. The first path is not easy. I mean, for Ramana Maharshi, it was easy. But there are not so many Ramana Maharshis. He was so totally absorbed, he just completely neglected the body in so many ways. But then he could sit and sit and sit, and ants were eating up his body, and he was totally ignoring that. I mean, that's not anybody's cup of tea to do so. But we can also include the body. After all, the body is not apart from yourself. There is the Advaitic approach. I'm not the body, I'm not the mind, I'm not the intellect, I'm not this, I'm not that. That's just a technique to detach, to let go of the obsession we have with these levels. But of course, neither the body, nor the mind, nor the intellect, nothing is apart from the self. Everything is an expression. And we can very well include the body in our spiritual development. For me personally, for a long time, I was a bit in a dilemma. I had first made yoga, so the body was included. But then I came across Advaita, and there was always this talk of body is just a bag of bones and meat and blood and other dirty juices. But often I felt I'm in a prison in the body. I want to go beyond the body. I want to get out of the body. The body is disturbing me. At a certain point, the yogic aspect was again more activated, and I learned not to have negative feelings, not have a negative attitude towards the body, but actually include the body. It can be used as a help, as a means to be very focused in the present. Now, Mary has obviously also a little bit that dilemma. She wrote me that one teacher said, you should neglect, you should ignore the body, do not care for the body. And then she doesn't feel it's quite right, but then how much is it okay to care for the body? How much can we include it and then it doesn't become an obstacle? It depends how we are doing it. We can make this human physical body into a temple. But it's the ground, it's the walls of the temple. We don't have to start to worship the body. And that is often the mistake that is being done. the total identification is there, and then people are so totally concerned about every detail of the body, about the appearance, what will the other people think and do. That, of course, is fixing the attention on a very gross material level. My way of the first step to really more include the body in the path, in the spiritual practice, was that I was starting, instead of just inquiring, to focus on the breath, breathe consciously. And then through that, more and more, the whole psychophysical manifestation would be included. Now, Mary, you wonder how much to care for the body, how much is okay, how much is healthy, how much is helpful. Of course, as long as a body exists, sometimes there are problems with it. Sometimes there is illness, sometimes it hurts. Sometimes certain things don't look exactly the way we would like it. Just feel the body. Don't be concerned about the whole appearance and the whole game that is usually played with it amongst people. Just feel your body, but don't get stuck there. We can use that awareness, that physical awareness, to bring the attention to the present. It's now. When you're breathing in, you're aware of the breath. It's now, it's happening, it's alive. It's not something that has happened just a moment ago or will happen. When you feel the body sensations, it's now, it's connected with life. But of course, then we can also get into the trap of getting totally fixed on that level. We can use it to help to bring the attention to the present, and then it's also good to go beyond it. And how can we go beyond it? When we feel the body sensations, when we are aware of the breath, it is very simple. Simply do that and consciously relax. And in that relaxation, the attention automatically sinks deeper. And then gradually, you also will feel the body subtler and subtler. Gradually, it loses that quality of being physical. And you feel more and more that the whole manifestation is a ball of energy. And the perception of that, as you go on, gets subtler and subtler. If there is some problem in the body, you can very well take care of. But you don't have to be afraid all the time. Oh, if there may be something wrong, maybe something wrong, and then become a hypochondriac and always want to be somehow or other sick and then busy with that. No. If there is really a problem that starts to disturb, it's good to somehow or other take care. But otherwise, you just feel your body. When you do now your Qigong practice, you feel the energy, you feel the body. And when you feel the body and relax more and more, you feel the flow of the energy. It helps you also with what you have asked the last time, that although you doing the exercise, the Qigong exercise, and the mind wanders off anywhere else except being consciously there, then consciously feeling your body, feeling the body sensations, learning to relax in that, and in that way gradually feel more and more the flow of energy is a good way to redirect the attention, that it's not always wandering off with thoughts in dreaming away somewhere while doing the exercises. Don't think that you are doing now Qigong and using the body that is somehow a physical obstacle. No, you can really do that as a spiritual practice. And the more you learn to do that while doing Qigong, the more and more you will be capable to do the same just when you're going about your daily life. Instead of always dreaming away somewhere, whatever you are doing, wherever you are, whatever is going on, just be aware of the breathing, just feel the body sensation, learn to relax and relax. Relaxing, we can give the impulse. We cannot control how much you are capable at that moment to relax, but if we do that again and again, that capacity to just, even when there are tension, we give the impulse and whoa. It's like the tension flow out of the system. And then you keep on feeling the sensation and feeling the breath and keep on relaxing. And like that, your attention goes deeper and deeper. It's in no way an obstacle for spiritual development. It can be used as a very powerful help. So don't be afraid of doing so and think this is not spiritual enough. Especially exercises like Tai Chi and Qigong, where you learn to develop that capacity to feel the flow of Qi, of the prana, of that life force. Then focusing on that life force is as profound, as useful, as direct as focusing on consciousness. The two, they come together. You can focus more on one, the other comes along. You can focus on the other, and the first comes along. We just don't have to get obsessed with the body. And that is what is happening all over the world, that people are very much obsessed with their physicality. But we can be detached from it at the same time, be very conscious of it, and make it as part of the path and a very useful tool. So don't be afraid of doing so. Do your qigong, do your exercises, feel your body, feel the sensations, be aware of the breath, and relax, and relax, and relax. That's the simple way to go beyond the physicality. That's why I'm insisting on it all the time. Relax, relax, relax. If you are conscious in the present and consciously relax, starting on the physical level and getting subtler and subtler with it, that is the direct, that is the easiest way to go deeper and deeper, bring the attention back towards the self, towards the source, of, towards that which makes everything possible. Okay, Hari Om, Hari Om. I leave this subject now, and then addressing you, my friends. Is there anyone who would like to say something? You're welcome to come in.
Hi, Werner.
Hello, it's Ravi. Hello, Ravi.
Yeah, I'm sorry the lighting's not, but anyway. So I've got a few questions today. One of them is the place of reasoning in spirituality, and just to give you a couple of examples, today today I had this thought. There was something that I need to do in a couple of days. I need to sit down and send an email to someone. And the thought, my mind kept on going to that email. And so to what I would do when I sat down and what I would write. And I noticed that I was thinking that, and then I guess there's a choice of where I can go from there. Maybe I just put my attention on my breath and relax. But the fact that I was like aware that my mind was going there. So I thought, oh, there must be some anxiety around that. And then I realized that, yeah, I was a bit stressed about what I would say and trying to work it out in my mind. And then I thought, actually, it doesn't need to be such a big issue. I can work it out when I sit down in a couple of days. And, you know, actually, the whole thing doesn't need to be such a big issue of what I was going to write down in the email. I can sort it out then. So, but to get to that space where I was it took a few, 10 seconds to reason in that way. And I mean, I personally feel like there's a lot of value in that, because I could have just not done that. And there's something called brain retraining. And I don't know if that's an example of brain retraining, but it's where you realize that your brain is going down one pathway and you give it another option, like because that pathway you're going down might not actually be, it might just be a story. So can you talk to me about the value of doing something like that, if there is any value, and the value of reasoning on the spiritual path?
Reasoning.
Reasoning, yeah.
Yeah, I don't know that word.
I think you probably do. I'm probably not pronouncing it that well. Reasoning, using reason.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Right, now I got it.
Yeah.
Yes, of course, you can do it like that. You can. It's not a contradiction that whether you are using your reason or whether you are redirecting the attention to the breath. You can do both simultaneously. And if at that moment you feel like thinking sharply, clearly about the situation, and you tell yourself, hey, come on, it's not the point to be now tense all the time. It's not the big deal. Relax, and you can relax, then it does the job perfectly valid. We do need a sharp intellect also. But it's good that we learn not to be always locked on that level. Just use it where it makes sense, and then where it doesn't make sense, if you see that it goes on and on there, you rather try to redirect the attention. Because you may tell yourself, it seems today it worked quite well. You told yourself, there is no need to be so worked up about it, and then you were capable of letting go. But sometimes we may tell to ourselves that same thing. There is no need to be worked up, but in spite of that, it goes on. And then you may reason as much as you want, and it's simply not working because energetically it's too much charged, and then it would be most probably more useful to use another tool like redirecting the attention to the breath or the mantra or whatever you are doing.
Yeah, good, thank you. And can you, okay, a couple of, the first thing I want to ask is, I'm thinking of, instead of doing my morning meditation in my room when I wake up, of doing abhyanga, putting oil on my body in the bathroom in the mornings now and meditating at the same time. And to do that, because it's quite cold, I'd be leaving the window closed in the bathroom. I wouldn't be getting, I'd just, yeah. and I'd be there. So I'm wondering, the meditation I would be doing, there's two different types of meditations, but one of them is saying the mantra and breathing in and breathing out in rhythm with the mantra. Is it good to have fresh air from a breathing prana point of view?
I mean, it's good if you can have good air, but you don't have to be overly concerned that if you close the window, then maybe you don't get enough prana. Prana is not oxygen. Prana is the life force, and it penetrates the walls and the windows. It's everywhere. So it's not that you have to have at all costs always your window open, and if you feel more comfortable closing the window, it's certainly and you feel more relaxed, then it's better to do so.
Okay, great. Fantastic. Thank you. And the last question, so there's been a lot of stress in my life, more so recently, I think. And I noticed that my default pattern, well, this time round, I mean, it's a pattern within me, but it's just been more intense, is the sense that there's something to work out. Yeah, and in the end, I don't even really know. It's just become automatic. Like, I mean, it's just kind of, anyway. It just feels strong at the moment. That's what I guess I mean to say.
Mhm.
And I think that's a worry pattern, looking for solutions and stuff like that. But can you please talk about that kind of dynamic of the mind, of always feeling there's something to work out, to fix, etc. And the way, yeah.
Yes, it can become also a bit like an addiction. that
Yes.
that
Yeah.
the mind also always feels, but there must be something to work out, and then go in a way look out for that and dig in the dirt. What is there? what is there also to unearth? And we need not do that. It's not that we have to analyze and seek what needs to be worked out. But on the other hand, if things come up strongly there, it's good to take care of them. Then no point in trying to push them away and suppress them again, because obviously something has been suppressed, that it's there lingering in the subconscious and waiting for a chance to come up. Then when things come strongly, it's better to accept, okay, I take care of it by accepting, surrendering to the fact that it's there, and then accepting that it comes. And then maybe you let go of the usual meditation that you are doing and let fully consciously come up what needs to come up. But at the same time, be careful not to get completely overwhelmed by it, not to get completely sucked into a story that is connected to it. But let the story come, let the emotions come, but at the same time observe what it is doing to your experience right now. See how it is affecting you physically, energetically, and then learn to relax. And in that way, the old story that is charged with a lot of energy, when you are not more so identifying, when you are not getting really sucked in the story, but just watch the story, watch at the same time what the story is doing to your experience and learn to relax, then the charge of it starts to dissipate. And even strong stuff can be neutralized like this. It may come, something may come one day, and you deal with it for some time, and then it's like at a certain point the energy goes and you can let it go and you are at peace. And then it may feel, okay, this is done, but it may not be done. It may, same thing may come back another day again with force. If you can just drop it, but if it's still too strongly charged with energy, then accept, all right, I take care of it again. I give it my full attention, but without getting sucked in the story. but be aware that there is that aspect of you that is just observing what's going on. Focus on that and experience from that perspective. And then you can let those passions come. You can let the story go. You can go from the beginning to end of a story, from the end to the beginning of a story. And sometimes you may become aware, it sucked me again completely. Then you just step back and relax and observe what it is doing, how the energies are being affected by it in the body, and relax and relax. And so things that have been there in the subconscious, nagging, sometimes consciously and a lot of the time not consciously, they come up. And if we deal with them like this, then they're losing that power, and finally it stops being in trouble. It's just a memory, it's just a story.
Okay, thank you, Werner. I'll try that.
Yes, do so. Hari Om. Hari Om.
Carry on.
Hari
Carry
Om.
on.
Is there anybody else who would like to say something? You're welcome. Hello,
Hello.
Andreas.
When you say you focus on the breath, for example, and then you just relax. And what then? Sometimes it feels like I'm relaxing and opening up, but after a short while, my mind starts to wander again. Should I go back to the body, or should I just try to be with awareness? Or, yeah.
You don't stop being aware of the breath. Even when you start to open up, you just continue being aware of the breath and relax, and being aware of the breath and relax, and let it open up. And then you need not drop that. You just continue being aware of the breath and relax. And like that, it can open up and get more and more expansive. And being aware of the breath is not preventing that. If the mind comes in and you start to go with stories, then you just redirect the attention again back to the breath and relax.
Yeah. Would you recommend to take a point to focus on the breath? Because for me, the point always a lot of times changes, or it's more like a region in the body. It's not so specific.
Yes. I've many times asked people if to choose a center in the body. You can be centered physically, but then watch from there the breath. And you may also play a bit that sometimes you watch the breath in one way and sometimes in another way. Sometimes you feel more the air goes in and out of the nose, and sometimes you feel more the movement of the lungs, of the ribs. What counts is that action brings you in touch with life, with the current, here, now. And if you do that and keep on consciously relaxing, somehow, no matter how you are doing it, it's becoming more and more expansive. You don't have to fix one point and stay with that no matter what, and on and on and on. If at the same time you physically center, that is helpful if you can do that, and you can like observe the whole story from that point. But then the breath itself, you can very well, as the breath is movement, you can very well also change the focus where you are putting. You still are with the breath, whether you feeling the air going in and out of the nose, or whether you are feeling more like the whole body is filling with energy. If you do stay with the breath and relax, it's becoming more and more also not really a movement of air, but you feel more and more the energy of it. And along with that, when you relax in that, then that's becoming more and more expansive. Being with energy is as expansive as being with consciousness.
I always try to direct my attention a little bit towards my belly, because I feel, I mean, that's what they do in Zen, and I feel I'm not, I have a lot of contraction there, and there's a lot of tension there. And so to really relax, I think that I should relax there. And yeah.
Yes, but you don't have to fix your attention there where it's difficult to relax and then get all worked up about relaxing that point. You relax what you can relax. Physically, you relax your legs and feet and shoulders and arms, and then gradually the whole rest of the body is relaxing, and then that place that has difficulty to relax also starts to relax. If you put too much the attention there and then start to willfully try to relax, it doesn't work very well. So relax what you can relax.
If it doesn't work on that day, then then I just stay where I can naturally focus.
Yeah.
But I still have problems relaxing my legs when I sit cross-legged, because they're always a little bit tense in position.
Yeah. Then give the impulse. Relax your knees. Feel your knees. Relax without doing anything, without moving them around. Just give the impulse, and that is doing something. That lets tension go, even if physically nothing is happening. Subtly, if we give the impulse to relax, the tension starts to dissipate. And if it dissipates in the legs, it starts to dissipate in the rest of the body. And if you have certain spots that are more difficult to relax, then they also gradually tune into that and start to relax.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, Hario. Hario.
Thank you for your patience always, because I sometimes have asked you these questions before, and I sometimes need a reminder to, yeah, just
Yes,
like.
that's what we are here for. Our satsang is not an intellectual exercise. So if somebody comes for an intellectual exercise, they are very quickly bored. But exactly that's what we are doing here in the satsang, is what one can do with oneself, reminding ourselves again and again and again and again. That's the path. Sure.
Yeah, and it changed my practice over the last 2 years.
Yeah, that's good. Yes. So
Ario.
don't feel shy to asking, even if you think maybe you have asked already similar things.
Yeah, okay.
Okay,
Thank you.
you are welcome. Would anybody else like to say something? There was once a man from Switzerland here, and he was attending my satsangs, and he was very enthusiastic about it. But then he came to a few satsangs, and then he said, but it's a lot of repetition, and obviously he wanted some intellectual food. And if somebody looks for intellectual food, this is not the right place. I'm not going into spiritual theories and building theories and make that whole thing intellectually interesting. The point why I'm talking to people is exactly what we said now with Andreas. What we need to do to ourselves is often just to remind ourselves again and again about certain things until they are there naturally. And that's what I'm doing in the satsang. Instead of getting into theories, be remaining practical, what one can use at any moment. And so often it's again the same thing. Often again, it's very similar of what I have talked before, but that's the process. That's what we can do to with ourselves, reminding ourselves again and again, and that's what we are doing here in the satsang. Okay, I think before a moment, a camera lit up when I started to talk again. Hello,
Yes,
Lila.
hi. Yeah, hi. I want to describe shortly. I can talk about myself, but I think I'm not the only one in Israel that feels that way nowadays. So we live now in very extreme life situation and also unknown. It's unfamiliar. I mean, if it was a life-threatening disease or something, then many people know about it. But this situation is really unfamiliar and extreme. So it's many emotions that are involved. The main ones are great fear, huge fear. Sadness. I cry every day, not for myself. I mean, not about myself. Sadness, pain, emotional pain, worry, and also not knowing. I don't know exactly. It's not an emotion, but it's like, yeah, it builds different types of emotions, I would say, not knowing. And I feel like I feel I'm like I live like there are two me, at least two me. I'm well now. I had a good morning. I went with a friend to a secondhand shop, and yeah, I bought some clothes and glass. Yeah, so yeah, I'm good. I live my life as if everything is fine. Keep going. And there's one part which sometimes I can touch, but I know it's there also when I don't touch it. Don't communicate with. I really feel like sometimes like two persons. One part is it's like I don't know how to describe it.
Your usual
I just
day-to-day,
was
your usual day-to-day self, and then something else.
yeah, what I believe is my usual day-to-day. Yeah, I will just maybe give one example, and I'll see what I'd like to hear. So last week I went to this gathering, which they hold every Saturday in different places in Israel. That was not a demonstration. It was more to bring to mind again and again the people that are still in Gaza and the people that were released and were there and killed and And this is heartbreaking, and there are many people there from a specific kibbutz which was badly damaged. So every night I was standing with my friends, but every now and then I felt I was going to faint, so I had to go away and sit someplace. It's both because of the lights, but also because of the energy. I don't go every week, obviously. The energy and what came up, but like couldn't come up. What was held inside, like huge stone, hard and untouchable. And then I just felt it happened to me many times during the evening. I was going to faint, so I sat down and relaxed and came back to be with my friends. So I just wonder what you have to say about it.
Right. Of course, in extreme situations, after that, we sort of walking on new ground. You said then you don't know the thing, the state of not knowing. Actually, this is a fact for everybody all the time. Simply when the situation becomes extreme, then we are being much more confronted with it. And we somehow, one aspect of us likes to feel secure by knowing ahead, by sort of being aware of what's going to happen, that we plan our life, that we feel secure. We still are in that reality that we don't know because things turn out in any what way, no matter what we think, we know. And then in such a situation, you are being confronted with that not knowing. And actually, it's good to learn to totally accept that you don't know. You are here now, and you feel the life, you feel the consciousness, you can learn to be consciously conscious here now, and then you are open for whatever is going to come. And then that feeling of that it's a threat not to know disappears. In contrary, actually, life becomes much more intense and interesting if we accept not knowing is actually the way of living. Because then we stop looking for a security that is anyhow a fake security. Then we learn to shift that sense of security from having the idea of being in control of our life and in control of our situation. We shift that sense of security to that awareness that no matter what is happening, that aspect in me that is not affected will not be affected, no matter what is happening. Here, now, you can connect with that, and then the more you connect with that, that security of being is simply there, and there, that wanting to know how it is turning out is becoming weaker. There's nothing wrong using common sense for day-to-day practical things. Even there, we don't know whether things are working out the way we think they should work out, but there's nothing wrong with doing things in a sensible way. But then there are things, obviously, that are totally out of our hands, out of control. So we can accept that not knowing is nothing wrong. Security comes out of myself. Here, now I am. Nothing can touch that. We can get mentally confused, we can get intellectually confused, but that simple sense of being cannot be confused by anything.
Right. I know, I understand, I even feel that it works for me. I don't have to any longer to do it. I have some great moments, and I feel somehow life goes through me somehow fluent, and I know what you're talking about. It's this brightness of life, and when I'm happy, I'm very happy. When I laugh a lot. Still, I wonder. Maybe you say the same as you just said now. I wonder. Well, I'm afraid of the possibility of a war. More war than a war. I mean, now there's a war, but more war, another war, bigger war, whatever. It's also the things they say. Okay, it's another thing. We won't talk about it because we both somehow. I know you understand what I mean, but still, it's a possibility. The other possibility is scary just as much. If the people remain in Gaza, I don't know how we continue living here, but of course I know we will. Some of us, most of us. A war scares me. A bigger war scares me a lot. But I understand. I actually know what you will answer. I mean, I understand what you say. So, I mean, there is no difference if it's a big war or if it's going to be too cold tomorrow. It's just the same in terms of the practice. I assume.
Naturally, that fear is there. When that possibility is staring in your face, then fear comes. And then when that fear comes, don't fight with that fear. Let the fear come, but don't become a victim. Don't become a victim of the situation. Then there is just fear as a natural reaction of the situation. You let that fear come. You see what it is doing to you. It comes, it goes, it does all kinds of physical and energetic things, emotional things, but it's something that is observing it. And that is that aspect that is not affected by what's going outside, not affected by our own reactions. And if we can learn to detach from our own reactions by getting into that observing space, then they stop being so threatening. Because that certainty grows stronger and stronger, no matter what. That which counts cannot be hurt, cannot be destroyed, even if people try now with all kinds of technical means to destroy even the essence of life, it cannot be destroyed.
Yeah.
This is your secure haven.
My secure what?
Haven. That's the place where you can be at ease, at peace, secure.
Yeah. Yeah,
the more
it's
you
working,
focus,
I know.
the more you are getting rooted in that, the less then these emotional reactions, even if they come, they can shatter you or they cannot sweep you away, because there is always that awareness, there is something solid sitting there like a rock, unmoved by no matter what is going on. No matter what's going on outside or no matter what's going on in the psyche.
That's very encouraging.
And then the more you are rooted in that, the more you are actually radiating some strength. an energy, something beautiful that is influencing the situation, that helps the people that come in contact with you, that helps the whole situation around, and ultimately we all are connected with everything. It helps the whole big story that is going on, that the crazy story that is going on around the world. The more people are learning to connect with the essence, with that which is not affected by it, the more something beautiful flows into the current of day-to-day appearances and has an impact and contributes that eventually it can turn to the good. It looks like that it may even turn to the worse for some time, but eventually this is going, and we somehow have to find a way through that whole mess. And we find that way best by learning to always connect with that and get rooted in that which is not affected by any of this. Eventually, it will be able to express itself beautifully. Right now, it's a chaos. It's not so easy, but even then, in our day-to-day life, it expresses itself still all the time. In your being quiet with yourself, in your interaction with the people that you are meeting, the more you are aware of that, the more it's simply flowing through you, radiating and making you feel at ease, at peace in spite of what's going on, making you feel secure. And then that security you also sharing with everything around, whether people are aware of it or not.
Mm. Okay, Werner.
I wish you well
Thank you. Hari
and a
Om.
lot of courage. Hari Om. Hari
Yeah,
Om.
Hari Om.
Is there anybody else who would like to come in? You're welcome. So let me say 2-3 words more to that same subject. Often I have said, this world is not as real as it appears. It is not as solid as we have the tendency to experience it. It is a learning ground. We intentionally project an aspect of ourselves, of that being that we are, into this world, knowing there is a lot of confrontation there. It's not going to be simply easy, for the purpose of learning, of growing, and that intensity that is there is at the same time also a chance to intensely become self-aware, to intensively develop and grow spiritually. What does it mean to grow spiritually? That we become more and more capable of being rooted in that peaceful aspect, in that immovable aspect, in that aspect of ourselves that cannot be hurt, that cannot be destroyed, no matter what is happening. Spiritual growth means that increasing capacity to be rooted in that. And an intensive time like it is now, it's not only where there is actual war, external war with weapons going on, there is a war a subtle war going on around the world. And it makes people different, people change, it makes people doing sometimes crazy things, but at the same time, it is also a continuous possibility. It's a chance that in spite of the intensity, we can learn to connect with the essence and to be capable to do so in a chaotic situation where there are intense energies struggling with each other. That is like a speedy way to spiritually grow and unfold. And that's what we have come for. We don't have to start to do funny things like sometimes people who are spiritual, they say like, oh, everything is so wonderful and nice. Everything is so right as it is. This is all God's will. Yes, it's God's will that this kind of stuff can happen, but it's also God's will that we learn to grow and not somehow just try to cover up everything with a sugar coat, putting it into pink clouds. But we can see where there is the hard reality on this particular level and become aware in spite of that. No matter what I am, that which is prior to all this cannot be hurt by that, cannot be destroyed. It's not possible that somehow this is being killed. This is simply prior to all that is happening. And a good part why that the divine being still projects in a situation like this, in a time-space continuum like this world, is to have that opportunity, to have this confrontation, to collect something very precious. The essence remains the same, and yet the experience keeps on expanding, becoming more powerful, becoming more detailed, becoming more subtle. No, nothing I'm saying is actually doing justice totally to what is happening, but there is something that is not moving, but the experience of that keeps on unfolding, and that's what we are here for. And even if we find ourselves in dire circumstances, it's good to remember, it's good to remind ourselves, actually, I came to have the possibility to have this kind of confrontations. And if I learn to relax in the midst of that, if I learn to contact the essence in spite of all the influences, in spite of everything that wants to pull the attention away from it, then I'm gaining immensely. And in this thing, it's not like in the business world. If I gain a lot, then usually somebody else is losing. Unfortunately, it needed not be like this. Business could be that there is a win-win situation for everybody, but unfortunately, a lot of businesses, somebody gains a lot and the others are losing. But with this, it's not. The more you gain, the more you give, the more you add something in the collective consciousness that is very precious. It needs a lot of courage right now. The world has gone totally nuts and it may go worse for some more time, but it's simply because something is so changing so drastically before something much more harmonious and beautiful can emerge from that. And until that, we need a lot of courage. And it's good to remind ourselves, I came for that. So let's not in the mind resist against the fact. We need not like it. We need not somehow try to say it's good when it's not good. Things are often very bad, destructive, but at the same time we can learn not to resist in spite of that. Accept it is like that. Not accepting as a victim, oh, poor little me, I cannot do anything. Yes, I can do something. I can exactly be not a victim of the situation. And how am I not a victim? By learning to bring the attention back to that which is not affected by no matter what is happening. It is important to remind ourselves. It's always important. At the present times, it's doubly important because the whole circumstances have been manipulated in such a way that they want to pull the attention from the people away from that. That intentionally that people's attention, conscious experience should be severed from the connection with the essence. But we can consciously do the opposite. We can consciously not be a victim of what is going on. And we are not a victim when we remind ourselves to connect with that essence, to be here now, to be aware that I'm indestructible, complete in myself, and the experience of that can unfold and can unfold. And intense circumstances right now, if we stop resisting them, but in a positive, in a strong way, not as a victim, but still learn to accept them, not resisting the fact that things are the way they are, then that can make us so much stronger. So that really negative, destructive situation that is there, this harmonious situation is at the same time an opportunity for each and everyone to become stronger, to connect deeper with the essence. And the more people are doing so, the more they are helping others to do the same. The more something beautiful radiates and others get inspired and supported and also can start to develop the courage to do the same thing. The more people that do that, the faster this story goes. Anyhow, the movement is there. The movement that there is a profound change going on. Even the earth is changing. The consciousness, the energy of the earth is also changing. That movement is there. And in the midst of it, we have the opportunity to grow immensely. Let's not resist of what is, but not accept with weakness and defeat it. Accept it is as it is, and in spite of everything that tries to pull me away from that, I still can connect. And even if I'm not always successful, I can attempt to connect. And that very attempt is already collecting something very precious and makes us richer and richer and helps the experience of reality to expand, to grow, and helps everybody else to pull also more in the same direction. . Okay, there I'm going again, talking. Is there anybody else who would like to say something? You are welcome to do so, to go in. Hello again.
If nobody else wants, I can ask another question.
You're welcome.
You said it's not so important to have like complicated intellectual theories.
Yes.
What is about, but I think your satsang is transporting or transmitting a message, a general message that like you shouldn't identify with your body and mind, and that there's something else, that there's something bigger, like like this like consciousness or the ground. And I mean this message is very important, right? Because I mean otherwise people are very materialistic today.
Mm.
So I mean it's not a complicated thing, but I think this orientation is very important to have to know that this is there. It, for example, it made the difference in even like towards my meditation that I'm like looking for something else, and okay.
Mm. Great.
So yeah, isn't that very important to have this orientation?
Of course it is. That's why I'm hacking around it all the time. If we lose that orientation, then we are totally a victim of the situation, helplessly getting flooded along by the current of events. But if you remind yourself that there is something not moving in all that, there is a ground you can connect with that is not affected, of course it's important to have that orientation and to remind ourselves again and again, and then it becomes much easier to deal with whatever is happening. And your experience is getting more and more powerful in course of the process. I'm not saying anything against all the spiritual theories, and some people like that a lot, and somehow for them it's easier to connect with the essence if there are a lot of theories to go through and chew through and reason about. That same man who after short in the beginning was very enthusiastic, after a short time he thought, well, it's always the same stuff, hoping for some new food. He gave me also a book, a big book, and I'm sure I read a bit in it, and I'm sure the author who wrote that book was a genuine being who had profound inner experiences. But he was then an intellectual type, and he was elaborating about it in a big book in a very intellectual style, and somebody who looks for that may be very happy and finds that, and in that way can connect. But for me, it's what is important is the practical aspect. And the practical aspect is basically not complicated. It's not difficult. The difficulty is that we have to just knock it in our head and remind ourselves again and again and just do it.
Is there a way of intellectual connecting,
Yes.
which is different?
It comes eventually to the same, but if one is very much identified and focused with on the intellectual level, then building up theories that slowly peel away things that we need not have, then eventually in that process you also come to the essence.
So it's more getting rid of your wrong ideas.
Right, and along with the wrong ideas, the wrong attachments, the wrong feelings, the wrong energetic stuff we are holding on to, we can also learn to become aware of that through the intellectual approach of analyzing and sort of letting go all the ideas that one becomes aware they are not helping. They are rather keeping the consciousness small, and then the energetic thing is also happening without directly being focused on it.
Sometimes I have the suspicion that, like, I can say it for Buddhism, or it might be even more obvious in Christianity, that like for example, a lot of people in Theravada Buddhism, Vipassana, they're not aware of this essence, and they have lost a little bit the true meaning, and they're getting like lost in all the details of the Buddhist teaching without seeing the essence.
Yes, but that happens in all the religions, in all the ways that people have the tendency to hook into details and then forget about the meaning of it. That's why Jesus was fighting all the time with the status quo of the society there, because they were full of rules and full of very strict dogmas, and he tried to make clear, hey, look at the essence, and often not acting according to their ideas, how one should act according to the rules of the scriptures. And so he was annoying all those scribes that knew what is right and wrong all the time. But then when a religion is built out of the teaching and the life of somebody like Jesus, after some time the same thing happens again. And suddenly there comes again all the dogmas, all the rules, and people start to focus on that. And this happens in Buddhism, not only in Theravada, this happens in all the religions, that people have the tendency then to take themselves very important, to focus on the details and miss the essence of it, miss the spirit of it.
Okay.
And we can come back to that essence very simply, with religion or without religion. And if we are capable of embracing that simplicity, then it's nothing difficult. We just have been brought up in a way that somehow it's so deeply ingrained that we think something has to be complicated in order to be worth something. That simplicity, something that is really profound cannot be so simple. And so the theories may be helping people who are sincerely interested, but very much the intellectual type. They may much get into theories, but if there is sincerity, they will work their way through the theories and come in touch with the essence again and again. And then that's perfectly valid also. Simply when we get stuck on the way on the details, then we get stuck for some time. But that happens no matter how we are approaching. If we are not alert, if we are not observing what's going on.
Yeah, there's a Buddhist theory that I like very much, the cycle of dependent origination. And I believe it describes how our experience comes into being moment by moment. And I find this very helpful to have a general understanding of this, so that I can intellectually at least believe. I mean, it fits together with what you're saying, that like, yeah, my experience gets constructed by my past conditioning moment by moment, again and again. But experientially, I cannot, I haven't realized it yet.
But yes, you're citing a case that at least to some extent, that intellectual approach has helped you to come to a point that you can let go on the intellectual mental level and go for the essence as good as you can.
Yeah, as good as I can. So, yeah. The Swiss man, was the last you were talking about?
Huh?
And from Switzerland you were talking about?
It's
Was
not,
he there?
it's
there
not
last-
somebody you know. It was before you came into the picture. Yes.
Okay.
Yeah.
I'm just kidding.
Yeah. Shall we leave
Okay.
it at that? Huh? Hari Om.
Thank you.
Hari Om. If somebody wants to come in, we have some more time. Okay, let's come back. Okay, because you would like to come in?
Hari Om.
Yeah.
Werner, I would like to ask, I've started having pain in my lower back. So is it indicative that my lower chakras are weak? Is it possible? Or it is just because of lot of sitting in the office for a long time?
I think the second one. You cannot conclude because you have pain in the lower back that your chakras are weak. Nevertheless, in the spiritual process, in the development, there is an energetic change going on in the body. When one becomes more conscious, when one's consciousness becomes subtler, when the experience becomes stronger, there is a continuous energetic process, change going on in the body, and sometimes it may be a bit painful for some time in certain regions. But it's good that if you sit a lot in your day-to-day working place, then it's good if in between you do a bit exercise your body to counteract the negative effect of it. If it's because of another more subtle reason, then it's temporary, it comes, it's there for some time, and it goes. But you cannot say because of the pain there is weakness. It may also be in a region where actually a chakra is getting more activated and more active, that for some time there may be pain there, not because it's weak, but in contrary, because it's becoming stronger, but the body has to adjust.
And if I may ask you, what do you think about this rebirth thing?
Rebirthing. Well, many times I have told in the satsang, even now we are not really incarnated. You, what you are. This is just a momentary projection into this magic show. And if you are not born now, then there is also no rebirth. At the same time, this being that is timeless, spaceless, that is out of time and space, And projecting can do that in different periods, in different time places, points of this unfolding story. And so you can say that that same being has repeatedly manifested in this story. But the one manifestation to the other is not strictly speaking that the second one is a rebirth of the first one, but it's just a projection of that same being that is never born, that is never dying, that is not reborn, and that is timeless and spaceless. Sometimes there may be a lateral connection happening between two projections, and then people have the idea, now I remember past birth. But strictly speaking, the new incarnation, the new manifestation is not really a reincarnation of the one who was there, but is simply coming out of that same source.
Right, right. Right. Thank you. Hari Om. Hari Om.
Hari Om. Hari Om. Somebody would like to come in?
Yes, hello.
Ah, hello, yes.
I just have a question about being in a kind of a state of some kind. I wonder, because often my regular experience has a lot of mind activity. But the last half hour or so, I've felt as though I've been in kind of this experience of really eschewing the mental activity and being more present, but it kind of feels there's kind of a recklessness to it. So yeah, I was wondering if you had experience with that, if it's right, or I don't know.
It's totally right, and you can't be reckless. Don't be afraid. Of the mental level, of course, the personality on the mental level may be a bit scared of the unknown that may be there if we are not rearranging our reality by thinking about it all the time. That's what we have learned. That's what we have been trained when we grew up, that we think all the time instead of learning to use the thinking only where there it's appropriate for practical reason, and then drop it and be quiet. So because it has become such a total habit, then suddenly to have the experience that maybe we could be here now without thinking, it feels reckless. It feels like you're sort of letting go of all the security that one seems to get by thinking all the time. But don't be afraid. You are coming home when you stop thinking. you're becoming more yourself. Experiences that accompany this may differ very much from one person to another, but even if the fear comes and it feels reckless, then don't be afraid. It's not that you're going in a wrong direction at all. In contrary, open up to it, to that possibility of just being conscious without thinking all the time, without producing a story all the time, without hanging on to going round and round in circles and recreate and crystallizing that reality that is not as real as it appears. If we stop thinking about it, it's losing its solidity. For that, for the me, ego personality, it looks reckless, but you are at home in that silence, in that not thinking state. Don't be afraid of it.
Sweet.
I wish you well.
So thank you. Sorry, just to follow up. So if I'm getting this correct, we don't actually need to be thinking. Like we can just be acting, and if there are thoughts associated, that doesn't really have to bother us, or it's more like we can be there's an awareness of thought happening, but is there responding to that on an internal level, or is that just kind of, it's all done automatically in a way by the system?
Well, it's usually habitually done because the habit is so strong. Everything happens so totally mechanical, automatic. But then you can become more alert and aware, and then you see that the thoughts may spring up. And out of habit, the pull is there to react in a certain way and to pull more, to pile more thoughts on it. But then you can learn to step back and to just let them come and pass by. Then we may try and try not to think, and it's not working, but then suddenly it happens. And then don't be afraid of it. Then just be there without thinking, what should I do now? You don't need to do anything. And if you are active at that moment, well, it can happen when you sit quietly, but it can also happen when you are active. Then you just watch how the activity goes on all by itself in a very normal and reasonable way without the need of thinking about it all the time and without the need of thinking about a million other things at the same time.
Right. So it's not as though the thinking process helps with like detangling the conditioning.
It helps the clear thinking, but there is very little thinking like this going on. Most of the thoughts, they are helping to confuse the story and not to clear up the story, because people are not aware what they are thinking all the time. It's going left and right and up and down, and there's not much sense and not much reason in it. Thoughts, there is nothing wrong with thinking. It's a beautiful instrument. That capacity to form consciousness into reasonable thoughts is beautiful. Simply, it should be a tool to be used where it's useful. And then when we start to become more conscious, then thinking in the right direction is helping. But it just gives the direction. At a certain point, thinking doesn't help anymore. Then we just drop the thoughts. But to use the thoughts to see how we are with our own thoughts in the habitual ways, creating tensions, creating problems, repeating the same things over and over, and it creates pain so many times, and we become aware that we don't need to do that. That thinking is necessary to have the impulse to look in the right direction, but then at a certain point the thoughts have to stay back and you just are thoughtless.
Hari Om.
Hari Om, Hari Om. I wish you well.
Thank you. Same.
All right, let's conclude today's satsang with this. I started out that we can include the body. It's not the only approach, but it's very helpful if you are capable of doing so. And to connect it with just this last discussion we had, when we become aware how much the thoughts are racing and racing and racing, and we try to tell to ourselves, it's not necessary, keep quiet, and still they go on racing and racing, and we say, shut up, keep quiet, and they still continue, wow, 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 no matter what. One very helpful way, one very powerful way of dealing with that restless mind is then to just redirect the attention to the body, to the breath, to consciously breathe, to feel the body sensations and to relax in that. And there we are again, where we started this satsang. What we need to do is not complicated. That's often difficult to accept and to understand for our mind that has been trained to be complicated. We just have to find somehow a way to redirect the attention from where it's stuck, and when we go there in the midst of it and struggle with it, we struggle and it's a hell of a fight, and we can learn to redirect the attention and come back home to that peaceful existence that is there all the time, even if it's overshadowed with a lot of noise beneath it, behind it. That peaceful beingness is undisturbed. Let's come home to that. Hari Om, Hari Om. I wish you all well.